Hey everybody, this is James Introcaso here. Just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about one of our sponsors before we start the show. For this episode of Tabletop Babble, I'm talking to you today about Lone Wolf Development and their amazing product, Hero Lab. Hero Lab is a character builder that lets you keep track of all sorts of RPG stats. You can build characters in Pathfinder, Shadowrun, 5th edition, Mutants and Masterminds, Call of Cthulhu, 4th edition, 3rd edition, so much more. It is pretty incredible. You have so many print options when you can output your heroes. You can email them to another Hero Lab user. You can save it as a PDF. You can print it out hard copy style. There's a validation engine that verifies your character satisfies all rules, providing a detailed report about any errors encountered, and making it super easy for you to go back and correct them in case you have the sort of group that is by the book, or maybe you're playing an organized play. Hey, if you don't have one of those groups, guess what? You can create homebrew content on Hero Lab. You can make all sorts of adjustments. It is amazing. You can even use a kit which allows you to create your own game systems, which comes with PDF and wiki documentation and a skeleton game system to get you started. It's compatible with D20 Pro and Fantasy Grounds, so you are going to want to check it out at getherolab.com. That's getherolab.com, so you can make character building a quick snap. There's also a lot of awesome DM tools involved in Hero Lab, monster management, and new monster building techniques. So check it out. GetHeroLab.com. GetHeroLab.com. This is Tabletop Babble. I'm James Introcaso. On this episode, we are reviewing Dungeons and Dragons in 2017, and my guests are the amazing Lysa Chen, Cindy Moore, and Rich Lescouflair. They are incredible. They're also all DMs Guild Adepts with me. We had a blast talking about 2017 in D&D, the most successful year ever for D&D. If you're wondering, hey, where's the talk about other RPGs? Check out the episode before this one where we did the RPG year in review, and we had a great conversation about non-D&D RPGs. This is a really awesome chat, so let's get to it. Okay, everybody, now I am here with three of my very favorite people who are now coworkers and friends, who I am just super, super happy to have on to talk about D&D in 2017. Three of the great DMs Guild Adepts, or Adepts, depending on how you like to say that word. Let's go around the table and tell people who you are and what you do in the world of tabletop RPGs. Cindy, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Again, my name is Cindy Moore. And again, I'm a Guild Adept for the Dungeon Masters Guild. I've written Adventure League adventures. I'm an administrator for the Hillspire region for Baldwin Games. I was formerly a regional coordinator for AL. And here in Buffalo, I organize a local con.
You are super hardworking.
Yeah, I am. I try to keep busy. Yeah. That way I keep out of trouble.
Well, thank you for everything that you do for the community. It's awesome to have you here to talk about D&D. Also awesome to have is, of course, the one and only Rich Lescouflair. Rich, who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop RPGs?
Hello, everybody. I am Rich Lescouflair. He got it right. See, all you got to do is just sort of read it, and it happens. I am a writer for D&D Adventures League, as well as a DMs Guild Adept. I pronounce it that way. I hope to continue writing adventures for Adventures League and for the DMs Guild. I am also a managing partner for Alligator Alley Entertainment. We also create other role-playing games, such as Witch Hunter: The Invisible World, and our upcoming science fiction D&D 5e Esper Genesis game.
An excellent game, one that I have had the pleasure of playing with you at PAX Unplugged, and one that people can check out the free core rules for right now on Drive-Thru RPG.
I also do some graphic design and layout and all that stuff.
Oh my goodness, he does amazing layout.
He does. You give great layout, Rich. It's incredible.
only for you, James. Only for you.
And last but certainly not least, new to Tabletop Babble, but probably not new to any of our listeners because she is an amazing human, is Lysa Chen. Lysa, who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games?
Yes, I'm an amazing human. I am Lysa Chen. I am a Dungeons & Dragons writer. Again, one of the Dungeon Masters Guild adepts. And soon to be, starting January 1st, 2018, I will be the Associate Community Manager for Adventurers League.
Yay!
I'm so excited about that. So excited.
Nice. That is awesome. Congratulations. Can't wait to see how you expand the world of the Adventurers League. And so let's jump right in because D&D has had its best year ever, according to many reports, and we're talking financially, but also because Lysa is now one of the admins for the Adventurers League. So what do we think it is that is driving D&D sales? You know, there was a lot of stuff this year that they said they had their best fiscal year ever. They said that Xanathar's Guide to Everything is the fastest selling D&D book of all time, which is really incredible. And that's incredible because it's not a core rulebook. It's a player supplement, right? So it means that like over 3 years, a lot of people have been buying the core rulebooks. And then when the first like real big juicy player supplement came out, they jumped on it, right? So that's a huge part of it. What is making this happen? What do you think is driving towards these sales? And Cindy, why don't we start with you?
I have several things, sorry. One of the major ones, I think, are the actual play podcasts that have come out, especially when it came on Geek and Sundry with Critical Role. It exposed a lot more people who are watching Geek and Sundry for other things to D&D and what it actually looks like, because many times when I talk about D&D, people ask, well, what is it? And how do you play it? Who wins? All that stuff. And I think that the actual play podcasts have introduced it to those people who don't know what D&D is.
Yeah, I think actual plays are a great thing because people see, you know, just the player's handbook. Forget about the other core rule books, right? Just the player's handbook is like 300 pages. People see that, it reads like a textbook, and they're like, I don't want to play this game. This is terrible. This is a lot of homework for me, right?
Right.
And the actual plays take a lot of that work away because, hey, you just get to be entertained and you learn while you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. The second thing is community. D&D has worked real hard with the Adventurers League and putting it and making accessible at local game stores, that it has created a gaming community, and the gaming community looks out for itself, spreads news, and actually keeps people across the whole country in touch with each other. And along the same lines is that the community that's being built is inclusive. Many women have been intimidated. I've seen throughout the years, I don't want to say how many, that they were intimidated to come into and get into D&D because it was thought of being primarily a male thing. Mm-hmm. Also, it's included other marginal groups more and has worked at it, as a matter of fact. And those are the things that I think have increased D&D's popularity.
I think that's very true, and something that I, as a gamer, am very proud of, that over the last several years, D&D has become more inclusive and continues to make strides in that area too, which is really, really good. Part of that's spearheaded by the Adventurers League, part of it's spearheaded by the people at Wizards of the Coast themselves, and a lot of it is spearheaded by everybody's boots on the ground, like everybody here who is on this panel. when they play their games, keeping that in mind, right? Which is awesome. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Rich, what about you? What is driving these epic, record-breaking D&D sales? What do you think?
Well, I will say that Cindy is absolutely right on her list of community and inclusion, and Wizards has gone out of their way to make D&D inviting for everyone. Also, the way that Adventurers League is run, just their just the way that everything became easy to get into. Sit down at a table, meet some people, play some games. All you have to do is walk into a room, and anybody that's been playing D&D or Adventurers League will just sit you down and get you right into it. There is also the fact that D&D has branched out into other types of entertainment, podcast being one. I did a talk at a library about D&D, and half of the people were there because they saw it on Stranger Things. That, and it kind of caters to both ends. You have these people watching things on Stranger Things, they see D&D, and you also have the old-time players, like myself. I won't tell you how old, but old enough. And James, you're an angel. But a lot of people saw, when the 5th edition came out, it was just 1,000 times more like, the D&D of old, where you could just kind of sit it down, play anywhere based off of your imagination. The old time players love that stuff. And that's how I got back into it.
Yeah, I totally agree with those things as well. It's funny, I hadn't, I'm real dumb because I should have thought of it. Stranger Things, obviously, has had a huge impact, and I think has helped remove the stigma from the game a little bit. One of the big things I've seen in the last few years is that the sort of like, ooh, gross, it's only for weird nerds who, whatever, has sort of lifted, not just from D&D, but from kind of a lot of things, right? It's why we have a zillion Marvel and Star Wars movies now, too. It's okay to love those things unabashedly, and D&D has finally stepped up into those ranks as well. And I love that is happening, and I think Stranger Things has a lot to do with that. Lysa, what do you think? What is driving D&D sales?
I mean, I think that Cindy and Rich are spot on, that Dungeons & Dragons is just definitely more visible in pop culture, between Stranger Things, as you were just talking about, and also all of the actual play podcasts and streams. I'd say probably out of this group chatting right now, I'm the newest to Dungeons & Dragons. I've only been playing for 2 years. For me, it was, I think Cindy was mentioning Geek and Sundry. I was watching episodes of The Guild, and then I found Will Wheaton's Tabletop, and then I think I accidentally started watching Critical Role one day and was like, what is this 4-hour thing? But it reminded me that I was kind of interested in Dungeons and Dragons when I was younger, but didn't know anyone else who played, and it looked so complicated. And it made it look so approachable and so fun that I just went on Meetup and started looking for places nearby that had Dungeons and Dragons. And I can say, as a local organizer, especially once I started my Adventurers League night, I got so many people who were watching Dungeons and Dragons being played online. Their friends were watching it. None of them actually knew how to play Dungeons and Dragons. So they would come to my AL night so that one of them could learn how to play, so they could go and then DM home games for all of their friends.
Wow.
Like, so many people would come in with that exact same story.
One thing that I also think about that I think has really helped the sales of D&D is the current D&D release model of basically we only get 3 books a year, and of those books, maybe 2 are DM facing, right? They're adventures meant for you to run, and your players don't need to buy them. And there's maybe 1 book that has some player-facing content. Even Xanathar's Guide to Everything, not everything in the book is meant for players, right? Volo's had a couple of races that you could play. Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide obviously had tons of player-facing content, but a lot of it was story and not crunchy. And so I think the other thing is, if if they had been putting out one book a month, like was the release model in the 3rd edition days and the 4th edition days, there would already be well over 40 books at this point that one could own and try to run. And I think that is also very intimidating to people. And so I think they watch Critical Role. They say, hey, I know 7 of the classes that are in the player's handbook already from watching this thing. I know how these spells and feats work, and there aren't thousands, literally, in the case of 4th edition, thousands of other options for me to choose from. Like, I can sit down with this book, and I don't sit down next to somebody who has a stack of books, and it looks at me like I'm a noob.
If I could jump in and add on to that, those, just the small amount of books that are coming out, one of the big things about 5th edition that I really liked is that each one of those books, aside from the 3 core, are completely and utterly optional. You can just pick up one more book and add on to it, and it has nothing to do with any of the other books. You don't have to have the other ones to play one. That's a definite plus.
It is. And AL has sort of stuck to this idea of the core rule books plus 1, right? So that even if you go to organized play, you're not intimidated then, because somebody shows up and they're like, hey, I'm running this kobold. And you're like, ooh, cool. What's that? Well, it's from this book, right? It's not, well, I'm running a kobold, but they're also a technomancer, which is from my technomancy novel. And then, they use these 6 feats from this book and these 3 spells from over here. Like, it's very sort of cut and dry and easy to understand. And I love that. And I think it helps the game keep a lot of its balance and stuff as well. It makes it still fun to play, which is great.
I think so. I think it's also, it's nice because it doesn't feel like you have to spend $1 million on all of these books to be able to play. And just on a community perspective, with so few adventures being released each year, it feels like everyone is kind of getting to experience the same stories. I know on my weekly night, we have one group who's going through Curse of Strahd right now, and a bunch of people who've already been through Curse of Strahd, and so everyone is able to talk about the story and know what we're talking about and compare experiences. It's really fun.
Yeah, that is really cool, and it's cool. You see that a ton online, right? Like, you can see everybody talking about Tomb of Annihilation on forums and on Facebook and Twitter and that sort of thing. So that's really cool. And those group experiences are great. And the other thing that's great is because Wizards is focused on 3 books a year, I feel like the quality of what you're getting is so much better. It's play tested. There's far fewer typos than there were in some old books and stuff. So yeah, that just feels so good and great to get those quality products that, are a little more expensive, but you're also not buying one book a month. So you're spending way less money over the course of a year, which is great.
That's true. And 3rd edition was a good example of too many books to help. Let's just say that. Too many books to build your character with. For new players, I agree that it's very intimidating. I remember sitting at a table and having 5 books and then trying to remember which book this feat or this spell or whatever was in. And it really got to be a chore to run your character.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this model, right, is so successful because you'd think, well, you got to keep putting out new books, right? That's the way to make money. But it's clearly not the only way, and they have sort of cracked the nut. And I hope what we see is 5th edition sticks around longer than those other editions, right? Because it doesn't get as big and bloated as quickly.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Tabletop Babble coming up.
Hey everybody, just wanted to take a quick break to let you know about one of the sponsors for this podcast. I'm talking, of course, about Kobold Press. Kobold Press is starting the new year off right with a new 5th edition adventure, Wrath of the River King. When a local miller's wife goes missing, he begs adventurers to search for her in the realm of the Feylands and its summer court. That's right, we're going to the Phalanx, baby! Here, the elves are cruel and cunning and look down on humans, dwarves, and others as little more than talking animals. Your players will get to explore the alien world of the Fae, a place with vastly different laws and customs, and they will try to find and save the miller's wife without offending the really big powers that run the place. I also love that in the copy, really big powers is capitalized, so you know they mean business. Wrath of the River King offers a lot of exploration, flavor, and encounters that are likely to require quick wits and careful negotiation rather than swords and spells. You can get Wrath of the River King at koboldpress.com, DriveThruRPG, or Paizo.com. A free map is also available on the Kobold Press store. You should definitely check it out. This is an awesome adventure. It's an awesome map. You can also get it at don'tsplitthepodcastnetwork.com by clicking the banner that reads Adventure in Lands Unknown. Check it out. Kobold Press always puts out amazing, play-tested, and proved stuff. This is an incredible adventure. Your players are going to have a blast. Back to the show. So in 2017, we had 3 amazing hardcovers come out. We had Tomb of Annihilation, we had Tales from the Yawning Portal, and we had the record-breaking Xanathar's Guide to Everything come out. And we also had some really cool digital products, right? We saw the launch of D&D Beyond. We saw some other partners step into the marketplace and partner up with Dungeons & Dragons. We got Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. Of the officially licensed D&D products that came out this year, what was your favorite and why? And why don't we start with you, Rich? What was your favorite and why?
It is tough to pick a favorite on this one.
Good year,
I mean, yeah, it was a really great year. Xanathar's Guide to Everything is you know, it's the unearthed arcana of 5th edition. You know, that's, you know, who who doesn't like that? Sorry, that's the unearthed arcana term is for, you know, another old time gamer term.
Yeah.
right. The 2nd edition hardcover book, Unearthed Arcana, right?
Yeah, it was first edition. But
First edition.
I'll just go hide in the corner now.
Yeah, right. I hear ya.
Tales of the Yawning Portal. I'm gonna have to put that on my tops because of the adventures that are in it. It is based, you know, it's pretty much a rehash of my favorite campaign setting, which was Greyhawk. I will say, you know, that's personal. But for me, as far as the best product, I'm gonna have to go with Tomb of Annihilation. It took everything that was cool that was going on with D&D, and it just kind of, you know, blew it up into so many different directions. So many new things were added in and tried out, and it was a, you know, a brand new expanded area of the realms. It took what everybody was used to in Adventurers League and just completely turned it on its ear. And the product itself seemed like it evolved the game.
Yeah, I think it was the right product at the right time too, right? If this was the first adventure that had been released for 5th edition, people would have run screaming into the hills.
Yep.
But it came at exactly the right time when people really were craving, I think, D&D on hard mode. And it's just a really well-written, fun adventure. And we should give a shout out, right, to fellow Adept Will Doyle, who worked on that book.
Yeah.
Lysa, how about you? What was your favorite D&D product of 2017?
Tomb of Annihilation is actually the first hardcover I'm running. I was running Adventures League modules before that, and I am obsessed, and my table is having so much fun. I love the blend of exploration, but you still have lots of really quirky NPCs and social encounters, and they just got to Omu, so they just had just enough exploration and they're ready to dive in a dungeon. I also just really love Xanathar's Guide for all of the notes from Xanathar. They are so delightful and so funny. But I will say, and I talk about this on my Twitter all the time, Tomb of Annihilation, I am running an all-wizard party. And one of them was under level 5. So he was able to re-roll his character and take Xanathar's Guide as his +1. And now every day they're copying spells from this one wizard. And so I've got 6 wizards and 6 familiars with dragon's breath.
Oh.
And I feel like this was a personal attack on me.
Well, good thing you can hit them right back with some of the stuff they're about to go up against in Tomb of
Annihilation. Yeah, they're going to need that dragon's breath.
And what about you, Cindy? What was your favorite D&D product of 2017?
I have to reiterate what Rich said, probably because we are both old timers. I really loved Yawning Portal because it brought me back to the old games, and it brought back many memories of when I started actually in first edition, and Greyhawk and all of the adventures set in that setting. The second favorite thing I like is I actually use D&D Beyond all the time.
Nice.
I can have my books without having to cart them all over the place. So if you have a tablet or even your phone, you'll be able to access everything you need to know in your hand rather than all the books. And to me, with all the books I used to carry around, it's very helpful.
For Cyber Monday, they had a sale, and I invested in a bunch of books in D&D Beyond, and it makes prepping for my weekly game so easy.
Yeah.
And I can just pull up a monster on the fly. I don't have to have every page of my monster's manual posted in. It's really great.
Mm-hmm.
Really great.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely the fact that there's a digital tool out there that for D&D that people really like is pretty cool. So yeah, I do the same thing. I do a lot of mine with Roll20, obviously, because I am a big Roll20 guy. They, full disclosure, pay me to rip apart D&D books digitally and put them into their system.
Nice.
So, but I think
awesome.
the rise of all digital tools is just incredible and such a good thing, and will also help drive the sales and give D&D its best year ever. So that is awesome. We talked a lot about streaming and actual play podcasts. Those are also probably having their best year ever and are continuing to grow. I feel like I hear about a new one every single day that I should be listening to. What are some great streams and actual play podcasts out there for D&D that started this year that y'all really love? And why don't we start with you, Lysa?
For actual play, I feel like I have to give a shout out to Sean Mcgovern, or Power Score RPG.
Yes.
So his blog is really great. He does a lot of reviews, a lot of companion packets to the hardcovers, but he also has a whole bunch of actual play videos on his YouTube channel, also Power Score RPG. And I particularly like his Tomb of Annihilation group. He's one in Mesro, one doing Return of the Lizard King, but there's like a Tomb of Annihilation group. And there's one woman, her character's name is Val, but she's really punny and she makes me laugh. And they're just a really fun group. So I love them. I'm completely biased because I did get to be a guest in that group.
Sure.
So I think episode 11 is particularly great.
Oh. Let me write that down.
That is a good one to start out with. Then everybody should go check out episode 11, Power Square. I think that's great. They're awesome, and that blog is just so good and amazing. And if you like that, you should definitely check out their games because really, really fun. How about you, Cindy? Any particular D&D actual plays that you want to shout out?
To be honest, all of the ones that I listen to are kind of like big ones. But I've really enjoyed Acquisitions Inc. C-Team.
Sure. Yes.
Definitely. And Girl Scouts and Glory. Mm-hmm. It's nice to see an all-woman cast, and they always dress up in costume. It's just a good aesthetic with the way they dress each time, and they use their some of them are voice actors too, so they use their accents and stuff, which I never am able to do. But those are the ones that I know came out this year But I do have a lot of other favorites that have been going for a while. So
nice. Well, Cindy, I have to be a shill for my own podcast network here for a second. If you like all-female casts, you should definitely check out our not dude-centric actual play podcast right here on Don't Split the Podcast Network. I'm talking, of course, about Dames and Dragons and the Venture Maidens. You might like them as well. They play a little 5e, have a good time. They're a great group. Or great groups, I should say. Just going to throw that plug out there for you.
Okay, sounds good. I've written that down too. All right, that was, I got my paper and pen out specifically for this part.
I actually really want to check out Dames and Dragons because I had the pleasure of playing a game with Noelle Shiri, who is on that show, and she is the funniest person ever.
She really is.
Yeah, she's really fun. So I actually really, that's on my wish list to check out.
Yeah, we had all of the Dames and Dragons on Tabletop Babble to talk about comedy at the table. And it was a really fun episode. They are all hysterical, and Noelle is just super awesome. And check out DSPN Presents if you want another actual play podcast where you can hear Lisa play with Noelle and me and Rudy Basso, Vegas Lancaster's Shadow of the Demon Lord. Yeah. But we're talking about D&D, and I want to hear from Rich right now. Rich, what are some streams out there that started this year that you really love?
I wish I had time to watch more streams, to be honest. Probably the only one that I have watched that did start this year, aside from actually, I have to give a shout out to Acquisitions Incorporated C-Team. Also, that's hilarious. And One Grung Above.
Yes.
I guess the best words I can find is beautifully unexpected. It just came out of nowhere, and it was like, hey, this is actually really cool.
And One Grung Above, right? Like that, I don't know. That's like it started as a joke, it seemed like. Like, they're really doing this?
Right.
They're really going to do grungs in D&D? And it turned out to be an awesome story with amazing characters. And Chris Lindsay does an amazing job as a DM. So, like, wow. Yeah, that's a great choice.
Yeah. What do you mean you don't use accents? I use bad accents all the time.
Yeah, well, I always say, people are like, what a terrible French accent. I'm like, no, it's a good drow accent, right? Like, that's how is what drow sound like, people. I'm not trying to be French. There is no France.
When I try to do voices at my table, I can see my players cringing.
So let's talk about the Guild Adept program or Adept program or Adeeps or however we're talking about it. Let's talk a little bit about that because that started this year. For people who don't know, it is essentially there is a group of several of us, the four of us here included, and then also Sean Merwin and Will Doyle and Claire Hoffman and Satine Phoenix and Rudy Rutenberg and Robert Aducci, and we all get together and create some D&D products meant to support hardcovers. So we essentially get a PDF copy of the hardcover anywhere between like 2 to 3 months before it comes out, and then we're told to create content for these things. The idea is to have content that would sort of launch around the same time that the book does. We shoot for day one. We don't always make it there, depending on how ambitious we are. But then it would support that content. So you saw a lot of adventures and monster supplements and classes, subclasses come out for Tomb of Annihilation. And we just released Xanathar's Lost Notes to Everything Else, which is a companion guide. It's got 25 new subclasses, and it's got an adventure in there, and it's got GM options and magic items, and it's written in the Xanathar style and beautifully laid out by Rich Lescouflair. So let's talk a little bit about this program just because it started this year and sort of what your experiences have been with it. And Cindy, why don't we start with you? How have your experiences been as an adept, and what do you think it's bringing to the world of D&D?
My experience is actually all of you. Collaboration, working together for a single product, getting your input on my writing and suggestions, and the atmosphere of this group is everybody wants to help each other, make everything that they do greater. The camaraderie is what I get from it. What it brings to others is incentive. If you're interested in writing and have a great idea, put it up on Dungeon Masters Guild and be seen. That's how we got there, is we were seen. It gives incentive for people who don't know where they can go to put their great idea somewhere. The guild, the Dungeon Masters Guild is a place to go to bring your ideas to light.
Well said. Rich, how about you? What do you think the community and you get out of the Adept program?
Well, I get cool friends for one. That's already that's already a bonus. It kind of gives a little bit of everything to everybody. I think we've all learned a few things here and there about writing and writing with other people, developing a product with other people. The collaboration is a whole different dynamic than kind of working on something by yourself. That's for our end, and for what we put out. The Guild Adepts program specifically is sort of like I don't know. I kind of view it as like a message to the DMs Guild to hey, this is what you can do if you put a whole bunch of people together that are good at what they do and step it up on the DMs Guild. Like, there's a lot of products out there that get cranked out, and you look at the top sales on DMs Guild that aren't even Guild Adepts products, and a lot of them are collaborations. A lot of them are, books that were put together by people that had different skills that were able to do different things and come out with great stuff. The stuff that we're putting out is quality, and it sort of brings DMs Guild as a whole to another level where everybody can kind of look at it and go, wow, we can do something without being Wizards of the Coast, and it can be, something professional.
I mean, I have to say, a lot of the pro impact and look of many of the products that have come out have to do directly with your skill and ability to lay stuff out. So thank you for bringing those skills to bear, and as well as your incredible game design skills, which should not be overlooked either, just because you have a talent I do not have, which is the ability to lay stuff out and make stuff look awesome. You also have a talent to design games beautifully. So as does everybody in this chat.
Thank you. I mean, hey, you can still, in the end, when it comes right down to it, what's in the book is more important than anything. And the contributions from all of you is pretty much what makes the book shine after you get past the first few pages.
And what about you, Lysa? What did you get out of the Adepts program? What do you think the community gets?
For the community and the Adventurers League community in particular, I think it is really interesting seeing Adventurers League content being created in a different way. So Guild Adept content gets written and published, and then it can be reviewed for Adventurers League. And so I think we're seeing some adventures that are a little bit different than what they would be if they went through the other rigorous AL process. But I also think we're seeing a lot of things that support people who run the hardcover versus people who run the Season 7 adventures. In particular, I'm thinking of the encounters in Port Nyanzaru and encounters in the Jungles of Chult products. I think those are really great for a book that had an amazing world written out, some random encounter tables, but not necessarily lots of fully fleshed out encounters. And so here, the Guild Adepts were able to provide something that works for an AL table as well. That's a little bit more fleshed out.
That's true. And I know one of the charges Chris Lindsay has given to us that I think will continue to rise and meet in 2018 is to do things that are weird and wonderful. And so I hope that we continue to make some products like the Books of Encounters. And, there were certainly some things in Xanathar's Lost Notes, I think, that are weird and wonderful. And so I hope that we all together continue to make some cool stuff. I have some ideas that I want to start talking to you all about now, but I can't because we're recording a podcast. This and making friends has been incredible. Everybody in this group has been so awesome. This has been great.
Yeah, I'd say Ruins of Asari, I think, was my first published D&D adventure as a guild adept and as a D&D writer at all. So being thrown into this group of really amazing, top-notch creators set the bar really, really high, which I love. So that's something I personally got out of it. And for collaboration, I feel like we're all not afraid to push each other a little bit and give honest feedback. Probably Xanathar's Lost Notes was the most thorough collaborating I've done with Guild Adepts. I contributed the Chaos Warlock, and Rudy Rutenberg edited that for me. And it started out as something flavored just as a warlock who's made a pact with demons rather than devils, like the Infernal Warlock, but had a lot of chaos in it. And so Rudy really pushed me to kind of reflavor the features and try to look at it in a completely different way. And I think the end result is a million times cooler than something I would have written myself.
Yeah, it's a great subclass. Really, really fun. I think there's a lot of good things, and I do think we all push each other in some very great ways. So yeah, looking forward to see what comes out of that in the future. So we are running short on time here, so we have time for one more question, which is going to be, what are your personal D&D resolutions for 2018, and where can people find you on the internet? And so, Cindy, let's start with you. What are your D&D New Year's resolutions, and where can people find you on the internet?
Well, my resolution is to play more. Nice. I really miss it, and mostly have spent the last few years just writing and DMing. Don't get me wrong, I did play, but I didn't on a regular basis, and I really miss it. So that is my goal for 2018. People can find me on Twitter at Cindy M. Moore, and on Instagram at cindy.moore.5667.
Thank you so much for being here today, Cindy. This has been awesome. And
it's been my pleasure.
Well, you're welcome back anytime, just so you know. And Rich, what about you? What is your D&D New Year's resolution, and where can people find you?
Mine is actually kind of on the same line of Cindy's, just the other direction. I want to DM more. All of my projects and writing and stuff has sort of curtailed all of the games that I was running. I get to play one game a week, So I kind of want to start like a really big campaign again. I really miss that. That is one. Currently, the other one is to watch more podcasts, to watch more streaming and podcasts. I am on Twitter. My handle is at Skydawn1, SKYDAWN, and the number 1. And I can also be found on Facebook. I do not have Instagram, but I plan on getting on that in the future. and I can also be found at my website, which is castleskydon.com or espergenesis.com, which can go straight to the Castle Skydon page if necessary. And that is it.
And Lysa, where can people find you, and what is your New Year's resolution for D&D?
My New Year's resolution for D&D is to create more shared experiences for the Adventurers League community, and also to kind of reimagine what Adventurers League does on social media and creating content that is both interesting and useful for those who play Adventurers League. And people can find me on Twitter at MercifulDM, MERCY. FULDM, and also you can keep up with all of my various creative endeavors on lysachen.com. Lysa also spelled with a Y.
Well, my D&D New Year's resolution is to spend more time chatting with all of you wonderful people. So I do hope you will come back, and thank you so much for joining me today on Tabletop Babble.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.
Oh man, what a great interview. 2017 in D&D was huge, and I'm looking forward to 2018. Gonna be pretty cool. So, already got some insider info, and that's all I can say. That's all I can say. Anyway, check it out. Stick with us right here at Tabletop Babble to get the latest and greatest D&D and other RPG news, because we love all role-playing games. Check it out. You know, Tabletop Babble is going into its second year right now, and we could use your help growing. Hop onto iTunes, leave us a review, let us know how we're doing. And if you leave us a 5-star review, I will read it out loud. Seriously, I will say anything that you write down in a review, like today's review from Brian Ab. So Brian, Brion, and AB, I assume this person has at least one ab. Brian says, learn from the best. Tabletop Babble is an interview show about all things role-playing. It's funny and interesting interviews, and I always get a new idea or something to look up. Also, bop, 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 do-a-do-a-bo, yeah, banana ram ding dong, whoop. All right, there we go, Brian. Thanks for giving me that. That was fun. I haven't had to do anything like that in a while. Keep the reviews coming. Challenge me with your baba-dabba-doo-bops and bama-nama-ring-rangs. So thank you so much for leaving this review, and people make me say anything you want. You know, as we head into the new year, maybe one of your resolutions is to listen to more podcasts. I know it is one of mine. I'm always getting awesome brain babies when I'm listening to podcasts. So one thing I'm going to recommend to you is to check out the newbiedm.com minicast. It's a new show right here on the Don't Split the Podcast Network featuring Enrique Bertrand, a.k.a. the Newbie DM. He has been spitting all sorts of DM advice since the launch of 4th edition. He is amazing, and his minicast is like 10 minutes max, a short burst of DM advice on a single topic from Enrique and one of his guests. The first episode features yours truly and the one and only Rudy Basso. Check it out over at don'tsplitthepodcastnetwork.com. And people, if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at James Introcaso, and I'm doing lots of game design stuff. 2018 is crazy. There's so many announcements coming up. Check it out over at worldbuilderblog.com. Tabletop Babble is a show on the Don't Split the Podcast Network. Thanks to Rudy Basso for founding it with me. Our theme music, which you're listening to right now, was provided by BattleBards. Don't forget that RPGs are like sex. It's a great way to ring in the new year.
Hey there, Alex Basso here.
And Rudy, co-hosts of Game O'Clock.
Don't Split the Podcast Network's premier video game show.
Every month, the two of us and a special guest go through a game genre's history, some of our favorites within it,
some of our least favorite games, and where we hope the genre goes moving forward. We've talked about shooters, MOBAs, classic adventure games, and even more.
If you like video games, you gotta check us out.